Hi, welcome to the Brief Book Reviews channel, otherwise known as An Old Guy Reviews the Book that he's read this week. So what's the old guy read this week? Well, the book I've read this week is called Flesh and Blood by author David Mark. Helpfully tells us at the top here it's a D.S. McAvoy novel. And in fact, it's the 11th D.S. McAvoy adventure. It was released here in the UK on the 6th of June 2023. And it's another adventure for D.S. McAvoy, and I suppose if one was being pedantic, one would say that perhaps we should call him by his proper rank, which is now Detective Inspector McAvoy. Detective Inspector McAvoy, i.e. Hector, his first name is spelled Aector. I will probably mispronounce that, so I'm going with Hector. Hector is on holiday with his family. They're going camping. So Hector's in the middle of a field, in the middle of nowhere. Poor mobile phone coverage. He's there with his wife Rasheen and kids Leela and Finn. All of a sudden he gets a phone call. It's from one of his team. And they're saying, boss, are you okay? And he said, well, yeah, I'm in the middle of field camping. And apart from that, I'm fine. And it turns out there's been a terrible incident outside of his boss's house in Hull. DS Detective Superintendent Trish Farrow. And it turns out there's a guy who looks exactly like Hector has been attacked leaving Trish's house, brutally attacked with what appears to be an axe, and is now in intensive care fighting for his life. The initial thought is that the person involved in the incident is Hector. But so thankfully it's not Hector, but this, this, of course, makes Hector think, hang on a sec, what's going on here? It was the victim, was it intended to be me? It's a dead ringer for me. It turns out that this is a friend of Detective Superintendent Farrow from Iceland. He's an Icelandic police officer. So he's in hospital. They're trying to save his life. Hector's in the middle of a field and wondering what on earth's going on. So thus the tale unfolds, and we see that the history of his boss, Trish Farrow, is somewhat complicated. She's known for being, almost superwoman. She's called, they refer to her as the sainted D.S. Farrow because of the fact that she's a very, very good police officer. She's brought up children, and she nursed the husband who was very ill for years and years. There are some people in the force that resent the fact that she's effectively superwoman and done all this, and there are whispers about her previous husband who had some very dodgy business dealings and some dodgy friends. So all is not well in the Trish Farrow universe, and whilst this attack happens outside the house, she disappears, trying to effectively gather information and find out what's going on before she gives a statement. Hector himself wants to come back, but is told stay where you are for the time being. So thus, the mystery here is what's going on. Has this person been attacked because he's a dead ringer for Hector, or is it because of his relationship with Trish Farrow? All paths seem to lead to a prisoner, a guy called Reuben Hollow, who has a somewhat enigmatic reputation. He's committed murders. He was put away by Hector, has had long conversations with Trish, and whilst he's still in jail, it appears that some of his acolytes may well be either directly or indirectly responsible for this attack, because Reuben has a reputation for killing people that deserved it. It's an almost Dexter-like character, if you will. He's the subject of a podcast. Hey, you've got to have a true crime podcast nowadays. The podcast is called Good Murders, Bad Deaths, and they glorify Reuben. Reuben is in jail and he even has his own officer to deal with all his mail, such as his notoriety. So that's the tale. We're trying to find out what's going on here. Is this attack related to Trish or Hector? And P.S., just for good measure, we've got the usual police procedural type 10, where there's a couple of coppers that resent Trish, and there are a couple of coppers looking to make hay with these current events to try and get bad information on Trish and therefore elevate themselves. So it's a good tale. One thing I would say is that some of the books I've reviewed recently have been under the genre of cozy crime. This certainly isn't. There's blood and gore everywhere. So definitely not for the the faint-hearted or those of a delicate disposition. Once it gets going, it's a good read. There's lots of action, lots of twists and turns. 248 pages, so not too much of a read. I read it in 2 sessions. So I'd give it 7 out of 10. The only caveat would be it is a bit blood and gore in places, so be careful if you're not into that. Sometimes described as a police procedural, but much more than that, much better than that. And yeah, I enjoyed it. It was slightly different from the books I normally read, but nevertheless, I'm pleased that I've been introduced to Hector McAvoy. So give it 7 out of 10. That's it for this week's brief book review. 10/10 till we do it again. Thanks for watching. Bye.